There are stories you hear and think, there's no way this really happened. But it did. And if you think you've seen injustice in this world, wait until you hear what they did to this widow. A young, beautiful woman who was already carrying the pain of losing her husband, and still, she was accused of something so absurd that not even the court believed it at first. And all of it for a reason so low, so disgusting, it's almost shameful to say. This story will move you, not just because of what happened, but because of what it reveals about human cruelty, the power of truth, and how strong a woman can be even when the whole world tries to destroy her. The most surprising part? Her only friend on this journey was a dog. A simple dog who ended up being the center of a dirty scheme, but also the symbol of a quiet miracle. And no one saw the ending coming. Not her. Not the king. And maybe not even you. So hold tight and follow it through. This isn't a soap opera or some forced moral tale. This is real life, real pain, and true justice. And if you think this is just another story, you'll soon realize it's a warning. Because in a world where one word can destroy a life, this story is a reminder the truth always comes back. And when it does, there's no escaping it. It was supposed to be just another day at court until 4 men came forward with an accusation so outrageous it made the air grow heavy. They pointed fingers at a lonely widow and claimed she had committed a vile act with her own dog. The news spread faster than wildfire. There was no proof, just malicious words. Still, it caused a scandal that reached the king himself, and that changed everything. The king wasn't one to believe just any story, but he also didn't ignore serious accusations. As soon as he heard the details, he summoned the woman immediately. His eyes showed disbelief, but his expression was that of a man who wouldn't let anything slide. When the widow entered, fully covered, her eyes betrayed her fear. And rightly so, in that place, justice could be cruel even to the innocent if the truth didn't come out. She denied everything. With a voice firm, though trembling, she swore she was a woman of honor. Said she had lived in seclusion since her husband's death without even speaking to men. But those words alone made half the court sneer. Trying to remain impartial, the king ordered the royal midwife to examine her. It was the beginning of an investigation that would go far beyond the widow's body. The real cancer lay in the hidden intentions of her accusers. The midwife was known for her discretion and professionalism. But that day, when she examined the widow before the entire court, she hesitated. She found some marks on the woman's body and, without weighing the consequences, declared there are signs of an illicit act. It was like pouring gasoline on a fire. The court erupted in murmurs and contemptuous glances. The woman, humiliated, burst into tears and tried to explain. But by then, doubt had already taken root in many hearts. The king, until then calm, furrowed his brow. It wasn't just anger, it was suspicion. Why did something feel off about this whole scene? Why was the woman, even under pressure, insisting on her innocence with such desperation? He looked again at the accusers. None could hold his gaze. It was as if a scent of lies was starting to spread, still faint, but growing stronger. Then the king did something no one expected. He demanded that the woman explain right then and there where the marks came from. And when she finally pointed to one of the accusers as the one responsible, the entire room fell silent. The king slowly stood, eyes burning, and summoned the 4 men forward again. Their demeanor changed. Once arrogant, now they were just shadows of themselves. From that point on, the king no longer wanted stories. He wanted facts, and he was willing to go all the way to get them. When the king began interrogating the men, one by one, what seemed solid began to crumble. He asked a simple question: what color is the dog? It seemed silly, but it hit the mark. The first said brown. The second, black. The third said white. And the fourth, red. The entire court fell silent. For the first time, the king smirked, but it was the smile of a man who just caught rats in a trap he'd set. He ordered the dog brought in immediately. And when it entered, dragging its little paws, everyone could see clearly the dog was a mix of all the colors mentioned, but none alone. It was impossible to have seen it without noticing this. The king turned back to the men, now sweating profusely. They had lied. And not just a harmless lie, a cruel attempt to destroy the life of a defenseless woman. The court, which had leaned toward condemning the widow, now went quiet. Even the most judgmental were uncomfortable. The widow didn't seem relieved yet. She knew disproving the lie wasn't enough. The motive behind the slander had to be exposed. And that's exactly what the king wanted next, the real reason behind so much evil. Silence fell over the courtroom when the king asked the woman to tell her side. She took a deep breath, wiped her tears with the white cloth covering her face, and began. She said her husband died just a year into their marriage, and she had lived alone ever since. No father, no brothers, no one. She only left home when absolutely necessary. It was during one of those outings that she found the injured puppy collapsed on the street, barely breathing. It stirred something in her. Without hesitation, she picked it up, brought it home, cleaned its wounds with the few remedies she had, and gave it water. Slowly, it got better. And that dog's presence became a source of comfort, like a silent brother. He was the one who listened when I had no one to talk to, she said. The entire courtroom was silent. The dog wasn't a symbol of sin as the men had tried to make it seem. He was a symbol of survival. She went on. She never imagined any of this could be used against her. She didn't know the same dog she had saved would be turned into a weapon of humiliation. But it wasn't the dog who hurt her, it was those men. She revealed they had harassed her for months, making indecent proposals. When she refused, they found another way to retaliate. The king, now standing, couldn't hide his rage. But he still wanted to hear the rest and give the men a chance to explain themselves. Under the king's piercing gaze, the four men could no longer keep up the lie. One broke down first. He said it all started with a rejected proposition. They wanted to take advantage of the widow's loneliness, young, beautiful, with no one to protect her. When she refused them, they decided to ruin her. They invented a vile story and spread it through the village. They knew her reputation for being reserved made her an easy target. The king listened in silence, fists clenched. Every word revealed more about the evil hidden behind smiling faces that had once fooled everyone. They admitted using the dog as an excuse. She lives with a dog, no one comes or goes. Let's say she's having an affair with it. Just like that. It wasn't a mistake, it was a plan. Premeditated, cold, cruel. And the worst part, they only stopped because they got caught. The crowd watched in shock. Some covered their faces. Others cried. The king then stood and said loudly, "You didn't just try to destroy a woman. You tried to corrupt justice." The sentence was swift, harsh, and uncompromising. There would be no forgiveness. The court had to see that a woman's honor isn't a toy and that false accusations carry consequences. But the king wasn't done. He wanted more than punishment. He wanted restoration. With the four men sentenced, the king knew that punishment was only part of justice. He looked at the widow, still covered, still trembling, and said, "You won't be remembered for this lie, but for the strength you showed." It wasn't just a gesture of comfort, it was an act of restoration. Before everyone, he ordered that the village restore her honor. She would no longer be the target of scorn, but a symbol of integrity. More than that, the king surprised everyone by declaring he would personally ensure the woman had a dignified new beginning. He arranged an honorable marriage with a young man from the court who had been moved by her faith and strength. He paid all the expenses, gave her a new house, and made sure she lacked nothing. It wasn't charity, it was justice. A way to say that those who endure injustice deserve more than forgiveness, they deserve reward. The crowd, once divided, now applauded. But the most touching moment came at the end of the trial. The dog was brought to the woman. He ran to her, wagging his tail as if he knew it was over. She knelt, hugged him, and cried. Not from pain, but from relief. The king watched in silence, like a father watching his daughter regain her peace. But the story doesn't end there, because the impact of that truth echoed through the village and changed more lives than anyone expected. After the sentencing and restoration, the village was no longer the same. Those who once thrived on gossip now lowered their heads in shame. That case served as a mirror. Many realized they had taken part, even indirectly, in the moral stoning of an innocent person. Words said in passing, malicious glances, silent judgments, all of it weighed heavily now. The widow's pain had revealed how evil often hides behind harmless talk. Families became more careful with what they said. Neighbors became more cautious with rumors. Children were taught to respect those who live quietly. And the widow's dog, once mocked, became a symbol of protection. They say many started bringing him food as an apology. The king, seeing all this, realized that more than punishment, the trial had been a collective lesson. One that even the harshest verses of the law couldn't have taught so powerfully. Still, wounds remained. The widow carried scars no one could see, and the king knew real justice must go beyond the courtroom. That's why he began planning something to ensure no woman, whether alone or not, would ever suffer injustice again in that village. A new decree, a new form of protection. But first, he wanted one final conversation with the woman, one that would also change her future. The day after the trial, the king summoned his advisors and made a surprising announcement. A new law would be established. Any serious accusation against a woman without concrete evidence would be considered a crime. There would be no more room for lies told out of wounded pride or unrequited desire. Whoever dared defame another would answer before the court and the community. This wasn't just justice, it was protection, a shield against future cruelty. But that wasn't all. The king summoned the widow personally. He told her that if she wanted, she could leave the village and start over somewhere else. But with firm eyes, she replied she wouldn't run. This is where they tried to destroy me, and this is where I want to live in peace. The king smiled. She hadn't just survived injustice, now she was an inspiration. So he made her something even greater. He named her village counselor for social matters. A widow, once invisible, now had a voice. In the days that followed, many came to her for advice. Other widows began to feel safer. People who once judged her now admired her. And the dog? Still by her side, loyal as ever. He spent most of his time lying at her door, as if he knew that woman, after all she'd endured, now stood as a symbol of something far greater than survival. She was a symbol of strength, justice, and new beginnings. And after all this, tell me, how many times have we judged someone without knowing a thing? How many times has a well-told lie or a simple rumor destroyed the image of someone who just wanted to live in peace? The story of the widow and her dog isn't just about cruelty, it's about silence, courage, and the power of standing strong when everything seems lost. Now think, what if it were you? Or someone you love? Would you know how to defend yourself? Would you trust that justice would be done? Or would you stay silent, hoping for someone like that king to show up? Maybe it's time for you to take a stand. Protect the innocent, don't be complicit in injustice. It starts with small choices. In what you share, in what you say, or what you don't say. So tell me in the comments, have you ever been unfairly judged? Or do you know someone who has? I want to hear from you. And if this story truly touched you, if it opened your eyes, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications because there's a lot more coming. Real stories, intense ones that reveal the truth behind appearances. See you next time.